educating people will we decrease the stigma of counseling is only for crazy people.
Psychologist Amy Jex has been working at the Belize Medical Associates for the past 2 years offering professional counseling services. The private sector, though, is not the only one recognizing the need for mental health services. In fact, all public healthcare institutions offer assistance for mental health issues. And just like most other medical advice, it's better to tackle the symptoms of mental health issues early.
There isn't a checklist. You know, like when you have a flu, you don't go to the doctor at the first cough, or you don't go to the doctor at the first sneeze. But you go to the doctor when you have a certain feeling that you know it will get worse. Sometimes you don't have to go to a counselor. Sometimes you just have to make sure that you're talking to different people about those things that you're feeling. So one of the indicators would be, how is your social system? Do you have enough friends? Do you have enough family? Do you have enough people that you're talking to? Are you communicating to people, or are you holding something back?
The idea is to talk to someone before the problem becomes unmanageable. Too often, Jack says, people wait until they're in a crisis to access care.
That is the typical reason people would go to counseling, when they feel overwhelmed and if they are in crisis. When they start experiencing suicidal behavior, they send their child when they notice that the child is cutting or the child is not eating and something major is happening. And yes, that is an ideal time to send to counseling. But like I said, if you can notice the little indicators of, I don't feel like myself, or what I feel does not match with other people, or with other people's perceptions, or when you see that your behaviors change, those could be little indicators that could prevent a crisis.
But how do you know when your problem warrants a visit to a professional? One way is to look at changes in your behavior, whether you notice it or close friends and family point it out to you.
You have to see, is it a good change? Am I happy with it? Or am I just staying home and watching TV all day and not living my life, not enjoying it? And then you spend hours in the day saying, I used to be a fun person. I don't know why I'm not having fun anymore. Sometimes you don't even have that insight to be thinking about those kinds of things. You may start to want to manage something. It may be an addiction, or it may be a behavior. You might notice you're spending a little bit too much. You might notice that you're overeating a little bit. You might notice different things, different patterns, different behaviors. Sometimes your sleep pattern changes. Sometimes you don't do the same things anymore. Sometimes there are drastic changes, and you just want to start managing those things, but you feel out of sorts. Sometimes you feel overwhelmed, but the thing is, you just feel that there's something that needs a little bit more control, and you want to go to counseling just to start to manage some of these changes that you see that are a little bit different.
Counseling services can also help you to cope with other people's behavior.
Sometimes we don't know what's going on with the people around us, and that is a good enough reason to go to counseling. That you want to start to understand what is happening to your child, your teenager. Maybe you feel disconnected from your teenager, and as parents you want to send your child to counseling because they're the one who needs help. But very often in a situation like that, it would benefit you as well to go to counseling to see what more you can do as a parent. Sometimes we have a family member who has a chronic illness and we feel overwhelmed by what they are going through. It's not something about us necessarily, but it's still something that we want to try to understand, or at least something we want to discuss with someone else. And those kinds of things are very good to discuss.
Sometimes people require only one or a few sessions to learn to cope with their problems, and some need more regular check-ins. It's dependent on the problems that you're facing. If you're in a difficult spot, Jex advises to find a professional counselor who you're comfortable with and get the help you need so you can get back to enjoying your life.
This is something that I've seen with the different ministries in the government and with private practitioners and with the schools and different people. They have all started a movement in mental health, and it's something that started 15 years ago approximately, and I am in a time when it is more well known, but we have the psychiatric nurses, we have counselors in different parts of the communities, we have counselors in schools. So there is some of that acceptance of counseling, and there are a lot of people who have been to counseling several times before they come to me. And so we are starting to have that culture of accepting counseling a little bit more.